Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Smash Through. I'm your host, Spencer, and I'm joined by my co-host, the Joker main that we all wish we were, Matt Kling.
Hey, how's it going? I don't know if I fully made the transition to Joker main yet, but I like the idea of it.
You know, it's a new year. There's tons of snow outside where we live, and I just had to pop some champagne and say, couldn't imagine starting a new year better than talking about Smash with you, Matt. So, cheers to you, Matt.
Yeah. I'll cheers to that. My coffee. Mine's not quite a cheersing drink, but you know.
You can cheers with coffee. You can cheers with anything. My daughter tries to cheers with everything she drinks. So, new year, and it was a interesting one for Smash. We're going to talk about that as our main topic today. Before we do that, we want to talk about always improving. It is the point for us of this show. Like, you know, at least for me, like I really love this show by making me hold myself accountable and trying to improve at Smash. And next year, as actually have Smash goals, like that's going to be important to me in 2023. So I'm excited to talk about it. But the first thing is I got into the lab with Greninja, not like labbing out new stuff, like inventing stuff, but actually like in the practice room trying to get specific things down, as well as look at some combos, weights of characters, like really diving into some of the Greninja resources that are available, and getting in there and trying to do that. You know, there are so many things that I need to be able to do better with Greninja as I've started mating him. You know, just like short hop fairs are just really hard for me on my current control setup. It might even come to the point where I need to change my jump button. But yeah, there's just a ton of things to kind of work on there, and it's helped a lot. I think that my Greninja just is honestly better than my Wolf ever was, with a lot less work. I mean, obviously it compounds with the work that I've already put into Smash, but yeah, I would say Greninja's become my best character, and I'm really happy about it.
Yeah, I really love your flow with Greninja. Honestly, like it's a lot more of like the bread and butters than you ever did with Wolf. Like your Wolf was like a neutral main, you know. Like you never really did like the I mean the common things for Wolf are like fair or like down throw into dash attack, those kind of things. And like I feel like you never really like jived with those kind of things with your Wolf. Like your Wolf was just
I actually had a sick
neutral monster.
fair bear combo against you yesterday with Wolf.
With Wolf,
it went into up air, or maybe it was fair up air with Wolf yesterday, and I was like, man, that was hot. And I actually was like, that was probably from Greninja play, just like thinking of the game that way. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think your combo game has just gotten a lot better from playing Greninja. Like you can see where they kind of connect into each other truly, and like you know create flows that way.
The other thing I've been doing is working a little on Cloud. I was thinking about this a lot, and I think that PT is going to run into the exact same thing as Wolf, where there will be too many matchups where I would want to switch because it will be slightly better than Greninja, even though Greninja still has a fine matchup. And I'd rather pick a character that gets to have that kind of like is good in a lot of games, but actually solves problems. And I don't know. I haven't like put it to paper yet. I think Cloud actually might be a better character for that. And yeah, I've been playing a little bit of Cloud, and honestly, just really enjoying it and kind of jiving with Cloud. Even my common game with Cloud has been, even though I think Cloud is a total neutral monster too, just putting in that work has, I don't know, I gain a lot of confidence in that character. Outside of my recoveries are bad, but you know, that's something you just got to work on with the Cloud.
Yeah, I think that one of the things I really liked about your Cloud was that you understood how much you were pressuring me into my shield, like making me have to shield, and then you were able to utilize Cloud's grab. Like Cloud doesn't have a good grab, but it is very useful on him because he just forces you in shield.
Yeah, and
in a way that you can't really like out of shield option him most of the time, right? Like he's either too far away or it's too safe. Like both of those things with the back air, and like that just means you kind of have to hold shield and try to hope that like the Cloud does something unsafe on shield or like roll away. Those are your options.
Yeah. Makes total sense. What about you? What have you been doing to improve? I mean, you took a huge break.
Well, so I think that if we finish the thought on always improving that we used to have, I don't know if this is still the current motto, but it was, you know, we believe that if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And I would say in this context, I got worse this week.
You know, we had a text thread, and I was thinking about it and like how much truer it has felt for me in Smash that the rust is real. Like
Mm-hmm.
this game, you get rusty.
Yeah.
And you get rusty quick. Like you took what 10 days off of Smash, and like
Yeah.
it's a big deal for a lot of things. Like your flow just kind of gets interrupted in a lot of ways, especially if you come in like I've been playing a ton of Greninja combo game stuff. Like while playing against Maxwell is like not the best practice, it's really good at letting me practice like just specific things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just like testing against like the CPU or whatever. Like you get to still do that IRL combo like input delay and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, so to further that point, I was going to say that while I think that I am objectively worse today than I was 10 days ago, I think that long term these kind of breaks actually really help because they break your heuristics, and like you're going to be worse mechanically, and it's going to show, and you're going to lose more games just no matter what if you take a break from something like Smash. But in the long run, it's actually beneficial to take these kind of breaks because you have to like rewire your thinking process, and like oftentimes we get stuck into like if this then this kind of thinking, and I think that taking a break and kind of forcing yourself to like work through those things with your conscious brain is really helpful.
I actually had a game that made me think this exact same thing this week with K. Rool, where I got a JD4, and I was just like, it was so combo-y centric, like everything was flowing into each other, and that is just not normally how I would play K. Rool historically. And I think that taking a long break from playing that character and then coming back to it after having these things does exactly what you're talking about, right? Where you come back to this thing and you're like, you've come at it with kind of fresh eyes, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not just like subconsciously running through the normal patterns that you run through.
Yeah. Let's go into housekeeping really quick. Just want to say I posted a Smash yesterday. Some people weren't able to pick it up, but I'll keep every week, having a day where I'll be like, hey, open arena, come jump in, come practice, come play. That Discord is in the show notes. Once again, this year we'll be giving away a Switch and a copy of Smash Bros. Ultimate once we hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Or you know what? I'll say whichever happens first. 1,000 on Anchor, which is I think all the platforms, or 1,000 on YouTube. We'll do both. If either one. Let's go to our main topic though. I want to talk about looking back on 2022. There are a couple things that I want to hit on. The first one is that this is the first year that didn't have a patch, Matt. There were no patches. You had to play the game. You couldn't just think, once my character gets buffed, like it wasn't happening, man. Like this is it. This is your time to shine.
Oh yeah, I think that the fact that the patches in the game are done has led a lot of people, including myself, to face some harsh realities about where their character is sitting currently.
Yeah, the ZSS, it didn't get the post nerf buff. It didn't happen.
Yeah, they didn't unnerf her.
So, what do you think this actually did for? What do you think this did for people? And then I want to talk about the metagame after that.
Well, I think it's definitely given people a lot more time to optimize, right? Like with patches coming out every few months, by the time you started optimizing a matchup or like a certain combo route, like things could change, like especially if they're changing frame data on any moves or, anything like that. Obviously, a lot of the patches in the later time were like just fixing moves that didn't really work that well, right? Like
Fox's down air.
Yeah, like things that people would just fall out of and they shouldn't. They're like, okay, well, we made it more reliable. It hits more often, but
yeah. I think that one of the things that the no patch year did in a lot of ways was, like you said, the optimization started to solidify things. Like it was like, okay, until like new tech is discovered, until something else is discovered, like this is the way things are gonna look and work, and these are the things that you need to learn about your character. And the more and more people optimize, the more and more you had to learn as that was discovered for each individual. But also, I think it had a big impact. Like we started to get a real metagame. Like this is what the Smash metagame is going to look like. it started with Aegis, and then slowly people started figuring out Kazuya and Steve, and there was kind of this flow of the metagame from Aegis to Kazuya to Steve, that more and more players are going to pick up the things that they love or things that they think are maybe busted or broken, and it's going to make you have to care about different things that you cared about before.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think the metagame was sort of solidifying even with the patches coming, but it's compounded, right? Like it's both the time that the game has been out has caused the metagame to solidify more, and the fact that they've done no updates to it in recent memory.
I think even like locally, I noticed from one local to the next just how much Fighter Pass 2 there was, like, in the room. Like, you just walk up to a screen and you were more likely to see a Fighter Pass 2 character. And that was interesting to me.
Oh yeah, and that was definitely, I mean, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Fighter Pass 2 just has a bunch of good characters, but like people are hesitant to just like play characters week 1 or whatever in bracket, right? So
yeah, thanks.
The amount of DLC characters is always going to increase as long as they're not just completely unplayable. But with Fighter Pass 2, even more so because those characters are all very good.
Yeah, and they, Sora came out in like October of 2021, right? So there just hadn't been a lot of time yet for any of the characters, really, except for maybe except for Aegis. Was Aegis the first one?
I'm trying to think. Was it Steve that was the first one? I don't remember.
Well, was it Steve? I should look this up really quick.
It might have been Aegis.
Fighter Pass 2. I can't remember the order now.
Maybe.
Is Min Min a Fighter Pass 2 character?
I think so.
That would be funny. But it was Min Min, then Steve, then Seth, then Pyramithra, then Kazuya, then Sora.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Man, Steve took a while.
I actually forgot that Seth was in Fighter Pass 2. Man, he's so out of place in that list.
Yeah, he's a lot worse. I mean, but he does get representation.
Sure. I mean, I guess he's probably on the same level as Min Min now, right? Given that, like,
Min Min they're the same character, so that makes a lot of sense.
Well, Min Min was just like a way stronger version of Seth when she was, so I almost said printed. I play a lot of Magics. But yeah, since she was released.
Yeah. I want to talk about, we covered the metagame shows a little bit. I want to talk about what this meant, though, because I was kind of looking at events yesterday as I was thinking about this show. And was this the year of just, like, there are a couple events that actually come to mind that I want to cover, because I think some major changes happened. The first thing I want to say is I think it was the year of invitationals. Like, invitationals mattered a lot this year. From the Gimmer Invitational, from the Smash, obviously the Summit, from the Ludwig Invitational to the second Ludwig Invitational.
Was the second one the Scuffed Invitational?
Yeah, the Scuff World Tour.
Yeah.
Like, it was the year of invitationals, but what's crazy to me is a lot of interesting stuff actually started happening at the event we were at. Like, Crown actually kicked off, or I guess it was the tournament before Crown, but Crown did something where it was both Japanese players and what is the Mario player's name?
Kurama.
Kurama getting his first major top 8 right then, and then the Japanese players like really starting to solidify themselves that week because they played in this one and another one as like the best region, maybe even beating out Mexico as the best region was really crazy. So you get Kurama getting his first major top 8, becoming maybe by the end of the year a top 10 player, starting with that event. And then you get the Japanese players going like, you guys forget about us. Like, I know that we're overseas, but we're going to stay here for like 6 months and just show you all.
Yeah, that's certainly been impressive to me. I really have enjoyed that. Like, because like you said, it used to be like kind of like comparing apples and oranges, right? Like,
yeah.
Oh, these players are, and like there were also a lot of players that would do either better or worse in Japan or outside, right? Like,
yeah.
Frodo comes to mind, right? Like he tends to win a lot outside of Japan, but not as much in, or possibly vice versa. And I know there are some other players that kind of fit that bill.
Yeah, but Shuton, like these players really like took advantage of their time in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And also pressured the top level play like in a really interesting way. Another story I think of this year was like players who fell a little short. I think like there was a time, I mean, maybe Smash World Tour would have shown it. We didn't get to see Zomba at Smash World Tour, but like Zomba had what felt like a meteoric rise that had to stop because the Smash World Tour was canceled. There was just, I don't know, like a lot of missing stuff.
Yeah, that was certainly unfortunate. I mean, the two biggest events at the end of the year both getting canceled was, it's unfortunate. It definitely led to feeling like there wasn't as much going on this year from a major perspective. Because like I also think that a lot of the tournaments that we would have cared about normally got overshadowed by the fact that a lot of these players were playing in like Smash World Tour qualifying events.
Right. And honestly, like, that and Panda Cup were going to be like, it was like the end of the year, right? It was like, here's the like grand finale.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. What do you think that we, you and I played in our first major this year. I plan on playing, I have a goal of playing in 2 to 3 majors next year. Just leaving the state to play Smash for the first time. Obviously, I'm going to play in Crown 3 if Crown 3 happens, in addition to some other ones. What do you think you learned about major events, both playing in one and watching them this year?
Well, I think compared to other like major events that I've played for like Magic or anything else, it's a lot more like freeform than you would expect. Like, there's a lot more of find a setup and just go play or whatever once you find out who you're playing against, and like there's no time limit or like when the round starts or anything like that. It's just like things are just happening pretty constantly.
Yeah, it's like a very lively environment, right?
Yeah.
And like I'm not saying like we play Grand Prix and Pro Tours and stuff for Magic the Gathering. I'm not saying that those weren't kind of like that, but like we went to the final day of Crown, right? And we watched that tournament like just in the crowd. Like that's just not. It's not like a thing in Magic. That's just not a thing.
Yeah, certainly, at least rarely. I mean, there's maybe a couple people standing around the top 8 or whatever, but
the environment is so different. It's almost like, I don't know. It's like a little bit intoxicating.
Maybe. So my thing was that I was going to say that in Magic you get a lot more like decompression time, either after a win or a loss. I think that it's important for me at least to have like that maybe 30 minutes before you have to play another match. That's just never a thing in Smash. You're like, okay, you're done. Okay, go play this guy now. Okay.
There's a lot of matches going on.
I really had time to process that last game. So
that's funny. Cool. Let's go on to our own personal Smash journeys. I want to first of all, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but what was your overall impression of just your first major, your first time, playing a big Smash event, for you personally? I mean, you kind of talked about a little bit of it.
Yeah. I thought it was fun. Like I said, I feel like I need to adjust to how limited the time is between rounds or whatever in Smash. And there's probably like more time between rounds if you're in winner's bracket, right? Like being in loser's bracket definitely makes you have to play a lot more rounds as well. So yeah, I think that's one thing I just have to mentally adjust to. Not that that's objectively bad. I think that it's nice that the tournaments end up being, they don't take like 18 hours or whatever. And I would say that there are a lot more casual players at major events than I was expecting, which I guess makes sense, right? Like that's true in Magic as well. Like if you go to a Grand Prix or whatever, there's a lot of people that are just there to have a good time.
Yeah, I'm sure seating for these events is basically impossible. It's really interesting to, you're gonna get every local player probably for the most part at your local Smash major, which is really cool. Like esports events are so different than that. That one's gonna be mine, by the way. Is that it felt like an esport event, even though it was just at some like apartment complex. I don't know. It was cool. Like I thought the poolside thing was cool. I thought I
think that event was just really well run in general. That was a very cool setup that they had. Like the area was was awesome, and
Yeah,
I
shout
like
out to Land King. It was so dope.
the outdoor nature of the venue for the main stage.
Yeah, I thought it was really sweet. I look forward to going to more of these. And then next up is kind of like, just I think that the practice that we put in has shown when we went to local events. Um, it's so easy when you look at a game like we play, like we said before, they play a ton of Magic, and like going from being two of the best players in our region by like just to the new guys. It's kind of fun, man. I really like it, like a lot, and it gives me a lot to like look at and like me and like look forward to as I try to improve at Smash.
Yeah, definitely. It's also much easier to
See your gains.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Both your gains and your shortcomings, right? Like in a game with basically no variance, it just becomes a lot more about what you're doing.
yeah. I mean, just taking a look at just the last local we played, like I thought I was, I thought I had a lot of opportunities, and I could see like, okay, I need to learn about this specific interaction. Like I was losing to this specific thing. How do I beat that thing?
Mhm.
And I don't know. I really like that about Smash, and I really think that, we go to Paragon to play some of our locals. I know Land King, the one that their major, has a really fun local event near us. So we have some good opportunities, and I just think that playing more of these and seeing more of this community is going to be really fun next year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we are in some ways fortunate, in some ways cursed to have both a massive and very talented Smash scene in Utah. So
Yeah, that's true. It's funny because it actually felt like it often took longer at a local to get a match going than it did at the major.
oh yeah, it was. I think a lot of that is just to do with the fact that they had it so well set up for the major.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. So how did we improve this year? Let's go with you first.
Improve as
As a
Smash
Smash
players
player,
in the
yeah.
year. I think that I have gotten more into like my adaptation is much better than it was a year ago. There's just no doubt about that. Like I can see what my opponent is doing and adapt to it. And like I see this happen constantly just when I'm playing like Wi-Fi games or whatever. Like I'll often be down like a stock and a half or whatever, and then figure out whatever flow chart my opponent happens to be doing, and they just never change, and then I just start winning. So that's probably my biggest improvement over this calendar year.
Yeah, I think for me, we said at the beginning of the show, I think my flow state in Smash has just gotten better, where I get to enter more of a flow state rather than have individual interactions make up every part of every game. Like there's some flow between those individual interactions.
Yeah, I would say even building on that, I would say that what it really is that you are pushing your advantage state, whereas before it would be like, oh, I got to hit, reset neutral. I got to hit, reset neutral, and like you just give your opponent like 500 chances to play neutral when you play like that. Whereas if you push your advantage state, your
Yeah,
opponent might only get 3 or 4 chances to play neutral.
it's true, absolutely true. And I think that going into our next part of this, kind of the final part of this, is in 22, I kind of learned why. I think in truth, it's why I didn't like Wolf. Like I didn't find the flow. His advantage state is like his advantage state is fine, but he is actually, in my opinion, the best character at what you just said, of just finding a place in neutral or pushing small advantages for 70% and then looking for a kill, right? And it's so much different than a constant attempt at being in this position.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you think you learned in this year?
I mean, looking for more than just like adapting to my opponents.
Yeah, I have one that I think that you learned really well, which was the kind of the I don't want to say this. Your ability to switch between characters went up a lot, just like
Mhm.
in friendlies, And I think that one of the things that happened is that you learned matchups, you learned interactions between a lot of different characters by playing so much Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I also would say that I learned how to play characters like more in the way that they should be played. Like I'm pretty much always playing bait and punish, but at least I'm not like playing every character as like a nair main or like a always in the air, right? Because like that was a big problem for me going into this year was that coming from Palutena and then Zero Suit later, like I would basically just be constantly jumping. Like I
Yeah.
would just never be on the ground. And not only have I learned to adapt when I'm playing like random or whatever, but also even with those characters, like I'll stay more grounded if my opponent is just reading jump the whole time.
Yeah, let me tell you guys that this is true because really, like in a lot of ways. Oh, that's what the bet was. I couldn't remember what the bet was, and I took it out. I have to add. Let's just talk about it now. We had a bet going of how long my losing streak would last. Now you said it was 12.
I don't remember what we set it at. I wasn't keeping track of it, but you told me that on the game where it was happening, you're like, oh, this is the game right here. If I don't win, then I lost the bet or
Oh
whatever.
yeah,
And
I think it was because I won the next game we played after that. So
yeah,
yeah, I think that I lost 12 I put the over under at 10. You took the over. I lost 11, and I won 12. What's really interesting is that what you said is exactly what happened. Is that you had started just I would get what was crazy in most of these, and I know that Matt will say that I got like unlucky, but I don't think that that's always necessarily true. Like some of that is true, but I think that one of the things that happened is would get behind and then he would stop jumping. Like he would recognize that I was reading jump and then he would stop jumping. And, I didn't ever catch on to that.
fair. Yeah. It is definitely one of the better things that I've done is not, I mean, it kind of goes into the adaptation, right? Like, not only am I getting better at reading what my opponent's trying to do as their, like, kind of flowchart thing and understanding more about where you can punish them. Because, like, certain flowcharts are actually really hard to punish, right? Like, for instance, I just played a game earlier today where I was playing against a wolf that would always do forward smash and then straight into forward tilt, right? And the problem was forward smash on shield is actually like not easy to punish. I'm not even sure that it's possible for most characters from
His
Wolf.
forward smash is really far.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So not only is it far, but like it like I don't know if it pushes you shield back or it just has like a lot of shield stun or whatever. But my opponent was just doing forward smash on shield into forward tilt, and every time I would try to punish it, I would get hit by the forward tilt.
Yep.
And in the past, I may not have even realized that this was happening. And even if I did, I would keep trying to punish the forward smash with different things. But like now I'm at the point where I realize that the actual secret is to just hold shield through the forward tilt and punish the forward tilt because the forward tilt is a lot less safe.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
Awesome. And I can't remember what was the start of that. I had a point with this.
Oh, it was about the jump thing. You were talking about how.
Oh yeah, not only am I better at adapting to what my opponent's flowcharts are, but I'm also better at figuring out when they've read something on me. Right, like if I'm like, oh, I've just done this like 5 times.
You're finding where you're making the mistake, right? Like what, right. And what's so funny is that I actually think that you're a step farther than even what you're saying. Is that not only you recognize here's where I'm making the mistake, but then diagnosing after you've diagnosed the problem, coming up with a solution for it, right? Because oftentimes in Smash for me, like I can diagnose what someone has read me for, like someone like, but then it's like forcing yourself to stop is actually hard. Right. In a game as fast as Smash. And then, once you stopped, what do you do?
Right.
So
yeah, it depends on the specific thing, but I found a lot of times I'll just pretend like, I'll read whatever they've been doing to punish the thing, right? So like it's like kind of baiting out an option from them by having a bad habit.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, Tweak on Tweak Talk says he does that on purpose.
I believe it. Yeah, I absolutely believe that there's a level where you can be at where you're like, oh, I'm just gonna like keep doing this bad option until my opponent starts reading me for it in a position where it's not gonna hurt me too badly, and then punish them for the potential punish.
Well, that is gonna do it for this episode. You can find me at System H. You can find Matt at the Witch Cling. Don't forget to check out the rest of Heezy and Media, whether that's the Constructive Criticism Network, whether that's other podcasts or other videos. You can like, subscribe, comment. Like I said, first thing to 1,000. We'll give out a winner. It's a little bit harder on now that I'm thinking about it. I don't know how I would know who the subscribers were on the other platforms. Sure. We could do like a screenshot contest if it hits it. We'll do that. We'll figure it out. And then, if you want to sponsor this podcast, hit us up. We'd love to hear from you. But Matt, I appreciate all the Smash we got to play this year, and I am looking forward to more in 2023.
Yeah, sounds like a good plan to me.
Bye.